I'm leaving a comfortable life in Canada to move somewhere where I can't even work. A lot of people would say that's a terrible idea. For the past 8 months, I've been living in Canada. I'm fortunate enough to have a stable job, not too many expenses, the kind of situation that usually takes years to build. And now I'm walking away from it all. In April, I'm moving to Japan for 3 months when I have no work, no income, just my girlfriend and a small apartment in the center of Tokyo. So in this video, I want to explain how I ended up here, why I moved to Canada in the first place, what living here has actually been like, and why my girlfriend and I have decided to take the next step of our life in Japan. So as I said, this story starts here in Canada. To explain why I'm moving, I need to go back a little bit. A few years ago now, I was living in Australia, where I met Keegan, my now girlfriend. We were both working at the same restaurant, just doing what usual travelers do, working and trying to save some money. After a bad experience of working at this ski hill, we decided we needed to get out of there. So we booked our flights and we packed our bags and we left early morning without telling anyone. We went back to Melbourne for a week where we hung out with our friend, and then he ended up going to South America and we had both booked to go to Japan together. At this point, Keegan and I weren't dating, but this trip kind of changed everything. Before going with Keegan to Japan, I've actually been to Japan twice before. Once with my friend from secondary school, and then once on my own. And those trips were amazing. I fell in love with the place. Japan was one of those places that just stuck in my head. Every time I left, I couldn't stop thinking about it or talking about it. But traveling somewhere and living somewhere are completely different. So when Keegan and I went, it wasn't just a holiday and it wasn't just traveling. It was more like a test to see if we really liked the place. But I don't really think we knew that at the time. We ended up spending about a month there, walking around the cities, eating way too much food, and just exploring what the country had to offer. This is the route that we took, if you're interested. But at the end of the trip, both of us kind of had the same feeling. We loved the place, but instead of immediately trying to move there, we just kept traveling. After Japan, I went to Spain. My grandma's Spanish, so I stayed at her house with my mum and my stepdad for about 3 months. And Keegan left to Europe to volunteer, do some volunteering work at a place in Greece. She ended up joining me afterwards, after about a month, and she has been with me ever since. Being in Spain was probably one of the most relaxing times of our life. No rushing around, no constant traveling, just living slowly. We both couldn't work there, so we were very fortunate just to have a place to stay. And for me, this was good because I didn't have to go back to England, which at this point in my life, there isn't really much there for me. As we could only stay in Spain for 3 months, we actually went and took a trip to India and Thailand. And then we ended up staying in Thailand in Bangkok for about 40 days. Just to wait out the 3 months that we kind of needed before we could go back to Europe. And then after Thailand, we went back to Spain for another 3 months. But at some point, reality shows up and you realize you don't have any more money. And at that point, traveling stopped being romantic very quick. We decided that we needed a place where we could work. Canada has been a lifelong dream for me, more so British Columbia, but it's still been a dream to visit. And in this case, it was just the most practical option. Whilst I was in Australia, I'd actually sorted out my Canadian visa, and Keegan's actually from Canada, so it just seemed like the most practical step, and moving there would be pretty straightforward. We could work, we could save money, and we could figure out our next steps. So we booked our flights and we moved to the Greater Toronto area, which we've been here for about 8 to 9 months now. We've been living with Keegan's parents and they've been incredibly supportive. Keegan started working at a restaurant and she actually got me a job there when I first arrived. I had this job just at the start, and while I was working there, I was looking for other jobs in photography and videography. But at the start, it takes a bit of time to try and find a job. And if you've ever tried getting a job in a new country, your CVs or resumes can look slightly different, and also no one knows you, so you're just trying to get your foot in the door. But eventually something came through, and to be honest, it was a complete stroke of luck. Everything just happened to align perfectly. So I worked both jobs for a few weeks, and then from September, I actually started working full-time at this social media company. And that job ended up being amazing. The team was great, they were very welcoming to me, and I actually learned loads while I was there. So for the first time in a long time, we were actually able to save some money. And for months, it was just working, saving, and living a pretty comfortable life. But before I was actually saving, I spent a lot of money on new camera gear and new equipment. In many ways, life was very easy and self-sustaining, and this was a great feeling, which is why leaving feels very strange. So when you move to a new country, everything feels incredible. Everything's exciting, everything's different. You want to try all these different new things and new experiences. And Canada was exactly the same. So when we first arrived, it was the peak of summer. The weather was lovely, the sun was always out. It was reaching like 30 to 40 degrees, and it was just alive. I was cycling a lot, running a lot, exploring new areas, and just trying to get into the nature. And the nature here is beautiful. We also went to Keegan's cottage in Northern Ontario twice, and this was amazing. It's really remote, and it was probably one of the coolest experiences I've ever had. If you're interested in seeing what I did, there's actually a video that I posted on this channel, so you can check that out. I'll link it here. There were forests everywhere, lakes, rivers, boat trips, and we even saw bears. It's one of those things where you really experience how big and wild Canada really is, especially as someone from the UK. For a while, Canada felt perfect to me, but that phase didn't last forever. Gradually, summer disappeared and autumn came around, which felt like it lasted 2 weeks, and then it was winter. In the UK, we get snow and the weather's a little bit cold, but it's nothing like this. Some days here were around -20, snow piles up everywhere, and driving becomes a little bit more complicated. And suddenly even simple things just become a lot harder. Going to the gym or the store just becomes a whole mission. So first you go outside, you go to the car, you brush off all the snow, you get in the car to try and warm it up, then you have to start driving because the car's not going to warm up if you're not driving. And then you start driving to the store, and even by the time you get to the store, it's not warm in the car yet. So then you have to get out, go and do your shopping, and by the time you get back, there could be snow on your car again. So you have to repeat this process. But to be fair, the snow does make some places look really beautiful in the winter, and that was a pleasure to see. But for me, the long term, living in a place that gets so cold and so snowy is just not really for me, I don't think. For me, it was just a situation where the negatives outweighed the positives. Over time, the excitement of being in a new place fades, and you just start to see what life is really like. And for us, I think we were just over it. After autumn, we were pretty ready to leave. But here's the weird part. Canada itself wasn't bad. In fact, it was actually really good from a technical standpoint. We had good jobs, we were getting good pay, we were saving money, we had supportive people around us. That's a situation that a lot of people would want to stay in. But we had this feeling that there was definitely something else that we wanted to be doing. Both my girlfriend and I love traveling. We like to experience new places and new cultures and new cities. Staying still for too long starts to feel strange, and for a while, we both started thinking about the same place. For the past 4 months, we started studying Japanese, and we had done it before on and off, and we had a hiatus about 6 months. So when we started again this time, we started from zero. We actually stuck with it every day, and we were doing some grammar and flashcards, and we had a private tutor on Preply, which we had been taking for a long time, and that really helped boost our skills. At this point, I'd say we're probably nearing the end of an N5 level. Well, I thought that until I did my JLPT N5 test for the language school the other day, and I was so confused about what was being said. So, for example, we can say stuff like, and bear with me here, Konnichiwa, Benji desu. イギリス出身のビデオグラファーです。日本語を勉強するために3ヶ月間日本に滞在する予定です。 趣味は筋トレ、旅行、そして YouTube 動画の制作です。Safe to say, it's still very difficult. Speaking and listening are still way more difficult than reading the language, which is one of the main reasons why we decided to go. Instead of just visiting Japan again as a tourist, this time we've decided to go and actually experience what living there feels like. No jumping between cities, no doing touristy things every day, just living. And going to language school gives us a way to do that. It allows us to stay there for a few months without needing a full work visa or a student visa. And it puts us in a routine where we can actually study and improve on the language every single day. And if we were ever serious about moving to Japan, having a good foundation of the language would be really helpful when helping us move there. There's one big catch though, we can't work. We're going to be living off our savings. So we're leaving the stability to move somewhere where we can't earn money for 3 months. From a logical perspective, it doesn't really seem to make a lot of sense. But sometimes the experience that you gain is worth way more than the money that you lose. And to be honest, to both of us, this feels like one of those moments. One of my colleagues at work recently asked me, what's the reason that you like Japan so much? And honestly, I kind of sat there struggling to answer the question. And I've really thought about this a lot since, and I think it boils down to it not just being one thing. It's kind of just a combination of everything. I've spent about 2 months there now, so far, across my 3 trips. And I love the culture, I love how clean it is, I love the convenience of the konbini, and I also love the fashion. I love how polite everyone is. The food is amazing, the architecture, the design of the cities, the train systems, all the public transport. It just has so much to offer that I love and really appreciate. So that's why I think I want to be there. But at the same time, Japan isn't perfect. There is definitely a darker side to Japan, which I think is an argument that a lot of people seem to make when they try and argue about the fact that a lot of people seem to glorify and glaze Japan. For example, the work culture. The work culture is considered a very big problem, and if you're Japanese, working for a Japanese company, then it's hard work. And there's a few other things. For that reason, that's why I think living there and actually experiencing it for a longer period of time is super important. Visiting somewhere gives you one version of reality, but living there gives you a much clearer picture. Another big reason why I want to move there is because of my creativity. As someone who loves filming and photography and just art in general, plus making these videos for YouTube, I have always found Japan very inspiring as an inspiring place when I'm there. Every street seems to feel like there's something interesting happening. If it's just super quiet, I feel nice and at peace. Or if it's busy, there's a lot going on and there's so much to see and so much to experience and so much to take in. Everything feels visually interesting. In Canada, I've been struggling with ideas for videos, partly due to the fact that everything's so spread out. The winter has been brutal for my creativity, and going out in the cold has just not been something I want to do. But I really think Japan is going to be the complete opposite. Cities are built for walking, and the public transport is so great that it's going to allow me to bring my camera everywhere with me, allowing me to explore endlessly without the need of a car. The environment of Japan alone could completely change the videos that I make and completely level it up. And I'm really excited to see what comes out of it. So here's what the next chapter of my life is going to look like. In a few days, we're going to fly to a mystery country before we go to Japan for a week. Leave your guesses in the comments for what that country might be. Then we'll fly from there to Japan, where we'll be living in Tokyo for 3 months to attend language school. Every day is going to be a mix of studying Japanese, exploring the city, trying new food, and cafe hopping, walking through small neighborhoods and trying to find more obscure places in Japan, and also a lot of shopping, and I intend to document every second of it. Instead of seeing Japan like a tourist, we want to see it like locals. So if any of you guys watching are Japanese, also leave that in the comments for any ideas of places to go that you would recommend. These 3 months realistically are an experiment to see how much we'd really like Japan. Right now, I'm still in Canada, my bags are half packed, and life still looks normal. But in a couple of days, everything's gonna change. the time zone, the place we live, our routines, our language, and our entire environment. And honestly, I couldn't be more excited because every single time that I've made a big move like this, something has come from it. And I don't think this time is going to be any different. New ideas, new opportunities, and new experiences. And for some reason, I have a feeling that Japan is going to be the most interesting chapter yet. If anyone who's watching this video is from Japan and they love creating videos or taking photos or anything, then please leave a comment. I'd be super excited to hang out with you and make friends in Japan. So please just reach out to me in the comments and I'll reply. So that's the long story of how I ended up leaving Canada and moving to Japan. From Australia to Japan to Spain to India to Thailand, then back to Spain, then to Canada, and we're going back to Japan. It's been a strange path, but every step has led to the next one, and I wouldn't have changed a thing. Our comfortable life in Canada has allowed us the breathing room to make this move, and now we get to see if Japan really is the place where we could build a future. In the next video, I'm going to be going to our first destination and our mystery country. So if you're excited and you want to see that, subscribe, maybe turn on the notifications, and I'll see you in that video. Thank you for watching. Peace.